Good afternoon, everybody. It's time to start the meeting, so I will call the January 17th, 2025 MAC meeting to order. And we'll start with introductions, and we'll start here in this room for introductions of MAC members. And I'm Charles Johnson, Vice Chair of the MAC, and off to my left we have Helen. Oh, okay.
Button. I forgot.
Repeat.
Doris Hernandez Morales, a member.
Okay.
Melissa Backrack, a vice chair of the TCMP committee.
Helen O'Connell, Chair of the TCMP Committee.
Okay, those members on Zoom, would you please signify that you're here?
Gene Lozano, member, but also the chair of Access and Infrastructure Subcommittee, and I'm a member at large representing the interests of people with vision disabilities. Thank you.
Okay. Pam?
Pam Floor, MAC member representing seniors.
Okay. Anybody, any other MAC members on Zoom? All right. We do have a quorum, and then in the room, we'll introduce staff.
Priscilla Vargas, I'm the staff liaison for the MAC and ADA compliance officer for SAC-RT. We'll go to you, Jamie.
Good afternoon, Jamie Polcanavery, Director of Customer Satisfaction.
Austin Greiner, Accessible Services Administrative Assistant.
Back row.
George Kirbyson, Director of Light Rail Maintenance.
Vince Beatty, AVP of Operations.
Blanca Araujo, VP Operations.
Jonetta Burnett, Light Rail Operations Director.
Charity Oakley, Director of Bus Operations.
Alberta DeAnda, SAC-RT Superintendent.
Okay, any staff on Zoom? Okay, that should do it for staff. Then next we'll have members of the public who are on Zoom. Any members of the public on Zoom?
You are using
could you say that one more time?
Good afternoon. This is Stephanie Jones, representing myself and blind individuals. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. Any other members of the public on Zoom? Okay, going to members of the public in the room here.
Dan Allison, Sacramento Transit Advocates and Riders.
Jeff Tartagia, Advocate, Dogfight, SAC-True.
Thank you. All right, I think that does all of the introductions, and we're going to move on to approval of the minutes. Are there any additions or changes to the minutes that have been submitted? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
Pam Floor, so moved.
Seconded, Helen O'Connell.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Last month's minutes are approved. All right, public comment. Now, these are for comments on items not on today's agenda. So, Jeff Tartagia, go right ahead.
This is Jeff Tartagia. Want to thank the RT staff for the 2 meetings with the walking around at Sac Valley Station to explain some of the problems with the light rail. We're trying to bring a group together on Friday the 25th at 10 o'clock in the morning to further people get the experience of what are the problems with the low floor light rail vehicles. Also today, a comment I will put out there is that paratransit rides. The first day was interesting. And once again, it makes the comment about knowing where your light rail, or sorry, your pickup point is. Also, the bus shelter at the Cal Expo has a sign showing RT's shuttle. It doesn't post the last time of being 10 o'clock at night is when it leaves. That's my public comment for the MAC.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other public comments in the room? Okay, public comments on Zoom. Okay, no public comments on Zoom. All right, chair report. I have nothing, and I think Jeff Tom will join us later, and we'll see if he has any chair information at that point. Okay, moving on along. I'm going to take things a little out of order now. We have a leftover item from last meeting, which is the TCNP committee update on their report. So since you were left, we didn't get to you last month, you're first up today, Helen.
Thank you. I believe our meeting was on May 8th, correct?
Yes.
Yes. We had a meeting on May 8th, 2025. Our subjects were accessible format draft policy, Title VI program update, and bus rapid transit or BRT update. The accessible format policy draft was shared by Priscilla Vargas, and it's for accessible format and equal access participation at all our meetings, all of our team meetings. And if you need special devices or any other special accommodations like Braille or large print or accessibility issues. I think it was 72 hours in advance so that we can try to accommodate all the necessary needs for anyone that wants to attend any RT meetings that's here or anywhere else. So I think that was a good thing. It covered all the areas, and we read through it. I didn't have any issues with it. The next subject was the Title VI program update, and that was given by Ms. Poe.
Isn't it Title IV?
No, Title VI.
Okay.
By Sarah Poe, Senior Planner. They have to do a periodical update. The last one was done in 2023 in May. And we're going to begin work in April 2025, so it's already started. And the adoption should be done in May 2026. It says Ms. Poe will present to the MAC in 2025, so summer of 2025. So that'll be coming up. Bus rapid transit, they're trying to use alternative programs for transportation. Bus rapid transit is suggested for Elk Grove service as opposed to a light rail extension. I personally think that the BRT or bus rapid transit would be more cost effective and would be a lot easier to implement because the light rail extension would take a long time. As we all know, getting funds is difficult. And the bus rapid transit would just be adding buses to extend the light rail from Cosumnes River into Elk Grove. So my 2 cents, bus rapid transit would be most cost effective. At this time, that's my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Helen. Are there any questions from MAC members in the room? Seeing none, any questions from MAC members on Zoom? Seeing none. Okay, we'll flip back to the room. Any comments or questions from members of the public in the room? Tartagia.
Yes, regarding training, I note that for drivers, there is several questions, and what happened a number of times this week or this month we've had where, quote, free fares, and public is a little confused about getting the explanation of whether it's for a flyer or for it's the air or whatnot. And I'm just wondering if in the involvement with training, has there been a refresher or reminder of what is going on for training for operations? And the other question about dealing with the grading of the new low floor, any issues coming up in training for the new low floor vehicles? That's a question I have.
Thank you. Helen?
As far as the low floor vehicles getting stuck and not lining up at the proper area, I was told that that would be addressed and reiterated that they need to line up in the proper spots so that the light rail ramps won't come out at the wrong degree and won't get stuck on the things. And they also said that they were going to put like a little pad so that the ramp would go over the little knobs at the front of the light rail station. So that's as far as I know. I don't know about the training for notification of the drivers and how the communications is going out about the free fares and all that kind of stuff. I would refer to the staff if possible.
Okay. Yes, Blanca.
Blanca, Araujo, BP not bus operations. Just to give a quick update, I didn't write the second time when you guys did see that 2 instances. I know that there was one which you mentioned where the ramp didn't deploy due to the operator not pulling up all the way, and that was corrected as you mentioned. We make sure that operator knew right away, and then we followed through to make sure everybody else knows the importance of pulling up to where they need to pull up, because if they don't, it can result of the ramp not working properly, and then obviously can cause someone not to be able to board or deboard the train. So we did, Janetta's here, we communicated that with her right away. The other issue with the ramp and the DWT, the detectable tiles, we noticed something, some screws were kind of higher on these 2 specific locations. We need to make sure that we look at everything and ensure that that is the reason why it's happening. So we are right now working on doing other evaluations to make sure that that's it before we close it up and fix that. So we are working on that, but we're a lot closer now, like he meant, thanks to Jeff pointing it out to us and bringing this to our attention. And he kept persisting because we kept on taking the train back and testing it out, and it would work back at the shop, but it comes back to being at this exact locations. And so we want to just make sure, that we are fixing the right thing. So we are looking further into the tiles themselves to see if that's what's causing it, and then we'll go from there. So we'll continue to provide updates as we find and we finalize what actually is happening there.
The question was about the communications to the public about free rides. Do you need a flyer? Do you not need a flyer? Do the bus drivers, are they aware of the situation on the day that it's necessary?
So when we do free rides flyers, our communication marketing team, what they do is they do post the information on the website, and internally they do send that over to bus operations, which it lists all the free rides, and they'll say whether they need to collect a flyer or not. And then we provide that information right away to our operators so they know what to look for the day of, whether they need to collect, the flyer or not. And a lot of the times we are sensitive to the fact that some people might not have access to a printer. And if we notice them that we're providing free rides for certain things, they will let the person write for free. But we do communicate that information right away to our operators so they know what to expect.
Does that address your concerns, Jeff? Thank you.
All right, very good. Any questions for Helen on Zoom?
Gene?
Gene?
Yeah, Gene, go ahead.
The talking about the ramp deployment and the screws, is that something, before I ask my question, is that going to be covered by staff later in this afternoon meeting?
Right now, we weren't planning on providing that update. And the reason why we don't, I know it came up right now, is because we don't want to put that out there until we're 100%. Now you guys already heard it because somebody talked to, Helen, you were there that day. So we are basing that on that observation, but I want to make sure we're 100% sure that is exactly what's happening. And we can't figure that out until we actually go in there and correct those detectable tiles to see, and then go back out and try it with the ramp. So I think until we have a little bit more information, we can provide another update on that.
Well, then let me ask this for clarification. I hear what you said. You don't know. You have to investigate. I understand it fully. You don't have an answer. But from the observation from there, I'm trying to picture what happened. The ramp came out, possibly hit one of the screws that are higher than the domes, and then that resulted with the ramp being retracted because it hit something solid. Is that basically what happened?
Exactly. That is exactly what we saw, and that's why we're thinking that's it. We went out and looked at it again, and we noticed, that's when we went back and noticed that there's like a slight height difference in that section. But we also know that in other times, other trains had come up and have the ramp has worked as well. So we need to make sure that when the operators are pulling into that specific station, some of them might be pulling just slightly different distances, where sometimes it is actually, we're trying to confirm that when you do the ramp out and the operator pulls into that specific spot that allows the ramp to come out on that section, that's what's causing it to retract. So there's a couple different things that we have to go out there and test before we can, but that's basically what we saw. What you explained right now, Jean, that's exactly what we saw and why we're thinking it's that, but we want to make sure that we eliminate any other things that can also be causing that as well.
Thank you.
question to anybody. What is the tolerance for the train positioning itself to get the ramps right? I mean, is it half an inch or is it a foot, or how close do they have to get to a mark?
So this is George. I'm not sure of the exact distance within the station itself for alignment with the platforms. It's fairly generous because the width of the detectable warning tiles at each of the door openings is approximately 8 inches wider than the door on either side. So there's a little bit of a tolerance there. One of the other things that we're considering as a potential factor is there is a difference in ride height. So there's an acceptable limit on the positive and negative side of the floor height of the vehicle. And so when Blanca was saying that we're looking at all these different avenues, trying to take all that data into consideration to find the best way to solve the problem. I'm happy to know that we're not experiencing it at all of our stations. That makes it a little bit easier for us to troubleshoot. But like she was saying, we were taking the vehicles back to the shop area in the Marconi and Swanson stations, which are on the other side of our yard, and we weren't able to replicate that problem there. So it made it really difficult as we were trying to troubleshoot what was going on. But now having the ability to go out there and actually see it in action at the Sac Valley Station and at 7th and I, we can start gathering some more data, and we're going to look at how close those tolerances are contributing or maybe contributing to the ramp catching that DWT dome. And so we're looking at all those things before we settle on what solution we're going to settle on to alleviate the problem.
Excellent answer. Also, George, do you know if there are any differences between train cars?
So there will be a slight difference. Like I said, that so there's a floor measurement on the height, and it's going to vary depending on the load on the vehicle.
Right.
So we have like AW0 all the way to AW4 for your crush loading and weight differences on the train. So as you add weight to the train, your floor height will adjust as the suspension is compressed, but there's a limit as far as where it's set. And so when we level the cars, we have a variance of, I believe it's 10 millimeters on the positive or negative side. So it's not much,
Right.
talking 10 millimeters difference. But when you're talking about the ramp coming in at the Sac Valley Station, where you have a new DWT tile that may be high because of the anchors that are anchoring it to the ground, those two things combined could be enough to where it catches the lip. And then the ramp actually functions off of motor current. So when it detects an obstruction, the motor current goes high, and that's what causes the ramp to retract because it's not going to try to drive through a solid object.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Just a moment, please. Okay, thanks, folks. Any other questions for Helen before we move on? Okay, seeing none, let's move on now to old business. The first item is the S700 LRV post-launch update with Mr. Beatty and Mr. Kerbison. The Vince and George show. Once again.
Hey, this is Vince, AVP of Operations. I just wanted to say before I let George take over, we're talking about the load on the trains, and maybe it all depends on how many grocery outlet bags Jeff has with him. Depends on if that ramp will.
Okay. And Jeff, you'll be happy to know my first update is I did receive the first batch of our new decals with the new language for the ramp deployment. So I've sent Blanca some photos that she'll be sharing in a presentation that she's got coming up at the end of the month with the board. So we've got those done. We are getting photos shared with our internal group, and we'll be putting those out over the next 2 weeks onto the train to change out those old decals from push to deploy ramp to press to deploy ramp. And then we made some minor language changes to the Spanish version as well. So it falls in line with the push to open rather, or push to deploy, so that they're consistent throughout the train. We are finalizing the issue for our July 28th board meeting for the Amendment 11, which has the important updates to the ramp deployment function with the tape switch inside the vehicle to reprioritize the operation of the ramp and to allow for additional time for that ramp to cycle so that we don't get people stranded on the trains. That's the major amendment with regards to the MAC committee. And then we have a couple of other items that are also along with that to increase the monitor sizes for our operators. And then we have a momentary switch going into the public address system so that it doesn't interrupt with the announcements. Currently, they have to deselect, the operators have to deselect that PA switch in order for the automatic announcements to reoccur. And we're making that a momentary switch so it doesn't take that operator input. It'll automatically time out. So those will be three good items, one of which is really important to the MAC, and we'll be rolling that out. And I think we just took delivery of car number 28 on Wednesday morning, and we're looking to get the next car in about 2 weeks. So things are rolling well. Today's running all S700 vehicles, and that'll become the norm as we've gotten through a lot of the commissioning process with the vehicles. We still have 22 vehicles commissioned. I've got 3 additional vehicles that are really close to being commissioned for revenue service. So you should become used to having an S700 gold line. It should be all S700 here. I think that's pretty much all I have.
Okay, I understand Jeff is has joined us.
I am here.
So you want to take it from here, Jeff?
Sure. Okay. So first, are there any questions in the room?
Helen?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead,
Helen, go
Miller.
ahead.
So you said that the new updates for the S700 train, they haven't, when the update happens, it's gonna happen by computer, so it will affect all the trains, not just the new ones coming, right?
Yeah, so what'll happen is the vehicles that we already have commissioned and in service, they'll be pushed out here on site through our Siemens commissioning team. So those updated software versions will be uploaded as a fleet task over a matter of 5 to 7 days to get us through the 28 cars that we have on site. And then that change will be implemented in the production cycle with probably car number, I would think based on where we're at in production right now, probably on car 30 or 31, where those updates will be ready when the vehicles are delivered. So before they ever get out into dynamic testing or anything like that, those updates will be uploaded on those cars.
Okay, because and just today I hadn't pressed the button yet, but the door opened and I couldn't reach it, and it opened without the ramp. Thankfully, the operator must have been watching because he closed the doors, or she closed the doors and reopened it with the ramp.
Were you able to hit the button?
No, I didn't
No.
hit the
Okay, so
button.
somebody actually saw it and actually was able to, okay, great. Yeah, so that will basically be the normal function if anybody presses the ramp access in the middle of the door operation. It will close the doors and then cycle the ramp open, even if the door's already in a cycle to open.
Good, because I thought I was gonna get left.
Yeah, and then we've actually started to do so a while back on one of the previous amendments, we had talked about moving the speaker location to about 3-foot level above the floor. That's being implemented right now. We've got a couple of vehicles that are getting that equipped as we speak, actually. So you'll see those vehicles out there over the next couple of weeks. We're going to run 2 vehicles with that modification installed, one of which will be LRV 401. And we're going to get some feedback from our folks out in the field to make sure that we're not inducing a new issue before we roll them out to the rest of the fleet. But we have those brackets and then the speaker modifications all ready to go. And we're rolling it out on a couple test trains. So that's happening now.
Okay, do we have any other MAC members in the room that have questions?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Okay, after we receive car number 28, and we have 22 more coming, what is the timeline for the last 22 that we have planned? And if we have all those cars, will we be able to run the low floor cars efficiently without having to pull the legacy fleet to fill in for cars that are in repair or
Yes.
maintenance?
Yes. So that is our plan. Obviously, so currently our production rate is 2 vehicles a month. That's our delivery rate. So we've got car number 29. It will be our next car, which is going to be the first car that's coming with the external mirrors that you'll see on the cabins for the operators. But we're slated to receive 2 vehicles a month through car 45. And then we're working on what we call our NTP5, which is our next option order, which won't be exercised until sometime next year. So there will be a gap in the production of the new vehicles until we get to whatever our end number will be. But we should have, by the end of next year, based on our current production rate, we should have about 40 vehicles on site. So yes, there shouldn't be any reason why we would need to pull legacy cars for the Gold Line, barring a major fleet-wide issue that may happen, likely won't, but could. We should be running strictly S700s at that point.
By the end of next.
By the end of before then, I mean, we're literally almost there now. We've had some of the fleet tasks that have been taking place for what we call the field modifications. So like moving the speaker, updating software, things like that, where we have to hold cars back for the commissioning group to install those. We're getting to the point that we have enough vehicles available for service that we can hold back the vehicles that we need to implement those modifications and still be able to complement a full service out on the Gold Line. So we're there.
Helen, I expect us to be on the Gold Line full S700 by September 1 of this year.
Yeah.
We have enough cars now. Just like George said, all of the trains on the Gold Line today are S700s. And barring if there's an accident or something that takes them cars out, we can't control that. But with the cars that we have in the testing phase and ready to go into revenue service, there's 5 of them. That should more than be enough for us to be able to run S700s at fully on the Gold Line September 1.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. One more question about locations of signs. I was on the low floor car, and it is very difficult when you're in a motorized wheelchair, or it's even more difficult when you're in a manual wheelchair because it sits a lot lower, to see the station signs that are up really high on the poles. Because if you have range of motion issues with like your back or your neck, where you can't turn or you can't lift, you can't see the full sign. So you don't know exactly what station you're at. And some people have difficulty focusing on the scrolling signs.
And sometimes the scrolling signs are wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their timing is off.
I've been complaining about that for a while now.
Yeah. And actually that is really, really close to being a closed issue. We have been working on that, as you know, for many months now, to bring that in to get the timing of the announcements to be as precise as they need to be, to let people know that don't have the visual acuity to be able to read the signs, to get the audible, so that it is as close to real time as we can get, right? And we're literally on the very edge of that. The majority of them, we have 2 cars right now that we're still working out a couple bugs with the announcements on them, but the rest of the fleet has been updated with the newest software version and are operating the way that they should. The announcements are being made at the proper time in the proper location, and the sequencing is the way it's supposed to be. It's the way it's designed.
We're gonna have visual signs soon?
So we have the internal signage, which is the scrolling signs that we have. That's the only thing that we have currently equipped in the vehicles, as far as the destination and announcements go. Don't know if in the future we may add additional. The problem that we have is real estate inside the vehicles to be able.
No, I meant
Placement for 'em.
the signs at the station.
Oh, the sign in the stations. Yes, absolutely. So the sign in the stations, signage in the stations, we actually are in the middle of the beginning of a project to replace the signage in the stations.
So we should be able to see it better.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
should be lower.
I'll let Vince talk to it a little bit more. too, but-
Yeah, so I've talked to facilities and I know exactly what you're talking about, Melissa. You're talking about the signage, the station signage on the pole.
Exactly.
So exactly.
Exactly.
So I'm talking with facilities to try to see if we can either lower that sign that's already in the station or put another sign in the station that's lower. The issue is they feel that the sign that will be lower, if we put 2 of them, the lower one's going to be vandalized and or maybe even removed, but we're working on it. We're seeing if
Thank
we can
you.
lower that pole sign.
Thank you, and thank you for taking it seriously. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, anything for you, Melissa.
And we do
Okay.
have a major project going on right now to actually address all the public information signage in the stations system wide.
Eh,
Yeah, there are going to be some changes coming with that.
Any other questions from MAC members in the room? Doesn't sound like any, so let's go to MAC member questions on Zoom.
Gene,
Okay, Gene.
I got a few. I'm hearing about a good update about the visual signage that is physically outside of the vehicle in the station. I am inquiring about the installation of the route destination signs, the tactile signs that are required to be physically on the platform. Where they are now is at the entryway or the entrance into the ramp that goes up to the mini high platforms. When are we going to get those tactile signs on the low floor platforms, which will resolve some of the issues for riders, particularly those with vision disabilities, to confirm where they are in relationship to other stations? Do either one of you have any idea when we're going to get those tactile signs installed?
Gene, this is Vince, and I can tell you, we don't have an idea, but I hear you, and I will have a response to you by the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. The public address outside again in the station, public address system. Jeff and I have heard from one of our members, and I've heard of our chapter, and I've heard from a few other people outside that at least 2 to 3 weeks ago, the PA system was not working at 8th and O Street, so passengers could not find that were depending on it, could not determine which platform to be on and the type of train coming in, and came close to missing trains. Is that seems to be a maintenance thing? Has that been corrected to your knowledge?
So Gene, I am not aware of that in particular. Unfortunately, I'm not really the best person to answer
Right.
that. The station signage is actually controlled by our facilities department and along with our IT department, but we can certainly take that back to that group and find out what the solution was. I don't know if they had a power outage in that particular station because of the work that's going on there, or why that particular location had an issue. But we
I
can
don't think
certainly
that would
ask.
have been, I don't think that would have been the issue because we've heard it from several people and it wasn't like all on the same day or anything like that. So
No.
I think it's a systemic problem for that station.
Okay, and is it on the inbound side of the station or is it the outbound side of the
Both.
station?
Both.
Both sides, okay.
Both.
Yeah, we'll definitely look into that and try to get you an answer.
The last one is curiosity. And I know no one knows, you don't, like the whole industry, the transit industry, where money's going to be coming with all the changes in the administration. But what is the light rail, low floor vehicles? What is your target number of vehicles that you actually plan to acquire in the fleet to serve the whole, all the lines? And also to include the number that will be kept in reserve.
Yeah.
And I guess the last question, and I'm almost finished there about that. And I know that the plan is at least in 2030, 32, something like that. You plan to eliminate the mini high platforms. Will that mean that you actually then not hold in reserve the better of the high floor vehicles and fully dispose of all of them, or keep some in reserve as last resort if the low floor ones, there's a problem with some of them?
Yeah, so good questions, and I can actually answer both of those. So currently, our target for the end of this project is to get 66 vehicles, which will allow us to have service on both blue and the gold line, as well as the green line, with a 20% spare ratio, which is kind of the federal standard for transit agencies to have a 20% reserve rate for your spare ratio. The plan is that once we get to that point to where we can fully run all three lines with the low floor cars, we have been working with our partners to retire our legacy fleet, which is the majority of our legacy fleet has already reached the end of its cycle, of its life cycle. Our CAF fleet, just because of the level of obsolescence in the cars, has reached it sooner than we did with the Siemens U2s, but at the same time is at its end of life cycle because of lack of support for all these obsolete systems. So our goal is to retire the legacy fleet and run strictly a low floor fleet, at what time we can remove the mini highs and raise the platforms all up to a low floor level throughout the entire platform.
Can I ask a follow-up to that? What happens with those cars after you retire them? Where do they go?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. So the high floor cars, we just got done doing a package with the UTDC cars that we got from San Jose many years ago. We put them out on a government auction site to see if there's any interest in purchasing the vehicles. Largely because of the age of the vehicles that we'd be getting rid of. Now, there may be a difference with the CAF fleet because they're not as old in age, years-wise. The technology, however, is old by today's standards. There wasn't a lot of interest at all with the UTDC cars. There likely won't be any interest with any of our U2s, aside from a couple of museums that have shown interest and some of the fire departments, police departments that are looking for training vehicles. CAF fleet, they'll go on an auction site and we will see if there's any interest around the country and internationally in the vehicles. And if that's the case, then obviously we would auction them off through that site. Once that process is exhausted, then we would be at liberty to move with our board to salvage the vehicles, and they would likely go to scrap.
And this is it, Jeff, but would
That's
you
fine.
then put them into your historical fleet, at least one of those vehicles, since you have old historical vehicles, and the rest of them, would they go to basically a scrapyard where they're crushed and all that good stuff?
Yeah, most of them actually will. So oddly enough, I've had several museums that have reached out to us for a U2 vehicle as well as one of the UTDC cars. I haven't had anybody reach out and ask us about any of the CAF vehicles to have as a museum piece. That could change as we get closer, but I know that there's a lot of interest in rail in the area with the few museums that we have that are local, and we would certainly entertain an opportunity
Like the
to
Railroad
share one
Museum.
with them. Yeah, exactly. Between the Western States Museum that's out there in Rio Vista, who has interest in a few of them, and then the museum here in Old Sacramento. But we would definitely entertain anything that we could do to help with them.
Okay, any other questions from MAC members on Zoom? Okay, hearing none, let's go to Zoom members of the public. Okay, I don't hear of
None.
anyone. So is there someone?
No.
Okay. So members of the public in the room.
Jeff, you're letting us off the hook today.
Wow.
We're gonna get you a donut the next time we go out on a trip. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you, Gene.
gentlemen, for informative report. Tell me, Helen, do you think your report can be done in like 10 to 15 minutes? Because if so, I'd rather get yours done and make sure we get it done.
I already
Done.
gave the report, Jeff.
I'm sorry?
I already gave the report.
Oh, you already did. Oh, great.
It was
Okay.
the first one on the list. Thanks.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much. Glad you did that, Charlie. Okay, so now we'll go on to item B, which is the Sacramento post-launch update. And I don't know who's going to give it, Alberta or Charity or whomever. So go ahead.
They're both on their way up.
All right.
All right, let's see. Can you guys hear me? There we go. So, good afternoon, MAC members. I'll be presenting the post-launch on-time performance data. We have a couple slides, so I'll wait for those to pop up. Okay, so I'm going to be talking a lot of numbers and data, so bear with me. So the chart on the screen is going to show our on-time performance. So on-time performance from April 1st through April 18th with Ecolane was 68%. Our on-time performance for April from April 19th through April 30th with Q-Ride was 60%. And then our on-time performance in May improved to 70% for Sacramento.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? My screen just did something.
Yeah.
The May one.
Yeah, for May, on-time performance improved to 70% on-time performance.
Thank you.
And then for June, on-time performance increased to 81%. So some key takeaways, we improved our on-time performance by more than 10% from May to June. Our total numbers of late trips dropped by over 2,700 in 1 month. Just the increase shows a strong recovery from Q-Ride related service disruptions. So I'm gonna go to the next slide and talk about, there's two charts on the screen showing late arrival statistics for Sacramento, comparing data from Ecolane and Q-Ride. The left chart focuses on the promise time, the ready window, and measured basically how late the trip is after the ready window. And then the chart on the right is for appointment trips, which base
how close the ride was dropped off close to their scheduled appointment time. Like I said, I'm gonna go through a lot of numbers. I'm gonna take a drink of this water. Okay. So chart one, the promised pickup time, late arrival status or stats. When we transitioned from EcoLane to Q-Ride, we saw a temporary increase in delays. The average mean lateness of increased by 10 minutes in April. The median increased by 6 minutes. However, from May to June, our performance improved. The mean lateness decreased by 8 minutes. And then our median lateness dropped by 5 minutes. In May, our standard deviation was 55 minutes, showing a wide range of how late trips were, meaning that some trips were slightly late and other trips were extremely delayed. By June, the standard deviation improved significantly to 15 minutes, which means that trips were let's try that again. Trips were not only less late overall, but more consistent. Now for the chart on the right, that is broken down by appointment-based trips. And with Q-Ride, we initially saw an average lateness increase of 9 minutes and then a median increase of 6 minutes. In May, the average appointment-based trip was around 21 minutes late. Half of the trips were under 6 minutes late, and the standard deviation was 19 minutes. In June, the performance improved. The average lateness decreased by 15 minutes. The median dropped to under 12 minutes. And then our standard deviation slightly improved to 17 minutes, reflecting a more consistent drop-off time. Overall, these trends show a temporary dip in the performance at launch. Service is moving in the right direction, becoming both more reliable and more consistent. So
Okay, oh, sorry.
I have one more set of stats to share with you guys. So that's there was one more request to go over the breakdown of both appointment and promise times, including how late we were and by how much for each month. So I'm going to start with the promise time trips. So in April with EcoLane, we had 14,406 trips, and out of those, 59% were promise time ready window trips. And then out of those, 56.
You're not going to have.
There's not a slide for
Not a
that.
slide.
No, yeah, sorry.
Just trying to find it. Okay, thank you.
So out of those trips, 26% of those trips were 1 to 30 minutes late. 4% of those trips were 31 to 60 minutes late. And then 0.05% of those trips were 61 to 120 minutes late. And then there was 0 trips that were over 120 minutes late. In April with Q-Ride, we had a total of 8,771 trips. And out of those, 62% were promised window trips. 23% of those trips were 1 to 30 minutes outside the window. And then 8% of those trips were 31 to 60 minutes late. 4% of those trips were 61 to 120 minutes late. And then 1% of those trips were over 120 minutes late. In May, we had a total of 23,214 trips. And out of those, 64% were promised trips. 19% of those trips were 1 to 30 minutes outside the window. 5% of those trips were 31 to 60 minutes outside the window. 1% of those trips were 61 to 120 minutes. And then 0.09% of those trips were over 120 minutes late. In June, we had a total of 21,937 trips. And out of those, there was 65% that were promise trips, ready window. 14% of those trips were 1 to 30 minutes outside the window, 30 minutes late. 2% of those trips were 31 to 60 minutes late. And then 0.29 of those trips were 61 to 120 minutes late. And then 0.01 of those trips were 100 plus minutes late. So take a quick breath. That was the promised window time. I have the stats for the appointment-based trips. So in April with Ecolane, we had a total of 14,406 trips. And out of there was 41% appointment-based trips. And during that time, there was 29% of the trips that were 1 to 30 minutes outside the late past appointment. And then 5% from 31 to 60 minutes late. 1% for those that were 61 to 120 minutes late. And then there was 0 for anything over 120 minutes late, sorry. And then for April, for Q-Ride, we had 8,771 trips. Out of those, we had 38% that were appointment-based trips. 33% of those trips were 1 to 30 minutes late. 10% of those trips were 31 to 60 minutes late. 3% of those trips were 61 to 120 minutes late. And then 1% of those trips were over 120 minutes late. In May, we had a total of 23,214 trips. And then 36% of those were appointment-based trips. 28% of those trips were from 1 to 30 minutes late. 7% of those trips were 31 to 60 minutes late. 2% of those trips were 61 to 120 minutes late. And then 0.06 of those trips were 120 plus minutes late. For June, we had a total of 21,937 trips. And out of those, there was 35% that were appointment-based trips. 20% out of that was 1 to 30 minutes late. 2% was 31 to 60 minutes late. 0.20% was 61 to 120 minutes late. And then 0.03 of those trips were over 120 minutes late. So overall, we've seen consistent and meaningful improvements. Our on-time performance increased from 70% in May and then to 81 in June. Our average delays have nearly dropped by 50% for both promise and appointment times. Our standard deviation, which is a key measure of consistency, has improved, especially in the promise side, showing extreme delays are becoming less common. These trends indicate that the service reliability is improving steadily as both staff and the system adapt to the new platform. While there's still room for improvement, the data shows that we're trending in the right direction. So that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go first, and then I'm going to turn it to Charlie, because he had a lot of these data questions, and then we'll go back to Zoom and to the room. So hopefully I can remember all my comments and questions, but the first comment I wanted to make was that I really appreciate the effort to get all this data information that was requested. I know it did take some work. My question is, my first question, and this is a quickie, will you be able to provide this information to us in written form, over in the next couple of weeks so that we can actually have that to mull over and look at? Just what you gave today?
Yeah, we should be able to provide that. That's no problem.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I want to make one comment, not related to anything that you've said, and that is a positive comment on UServe. I've noticed, and I've talked to others that have noticed, that there are an increasing number of drivers who are coming to the door. We brought this problem up, a couple times at the MAC, and I think we're really starting to notice that more drivers are doing what they're supposed to do. And this is partly of a problem because some riders tell them not to come to their door, right? And so drivers get mixed messages. But anyway, I'm just pleased to say that this seems to be happening more and more. So glad to hear that. So I'm assuming you focused on it at some point or in some way, because there is definitely progress.
Thank you. Yes, we have. We've worked really close with UServe on that, and they put out a campaign for it. So I'm glad it's working. Thank you.
Great. My other comment and question really also relates to UServe. I guess it's my assumption, and I could be wrong, but it's my assumption that the reason that the numbers look pretty good for UServe is related to another assumption, and that is that the uh, the QRide platform and the user platform still aren't talking to each other. So with the majority of user rides, they let them start the ride without, confirming it with UServe. And otherwise, there'd be a problem. And so, and you can address that comment if you want to, if you think I'm wrong. But my question is, that follows up from that, when do you think, is there some kind of a date that you're hoping that, assuming if my assumption is correct and the platforms are still not talking to one another because they're still getting zero, you know, uh, you know, zero payment, which was the reason for the whole thing. When do you think that will change and the two platforms will be, interlinked so that this won't continue to be an issue?
So we are working with QRide and UServe on that. So just to answer your question too, Jeff, that the platforms do talk to each other. The information does come back and forth. But what we have found out was that some of the information is not getting to UServe. So we're working on with QRide to make sure that we took samples of what it looked like when we used to have EcoLane and their platform to make sure that it shows the correct billable passenger to UServe.
Okay. And just to follow up, I hope that one of the things that you address, just because it took a long time with EcoLane, was the issue when there were the words are escaping me.
A PCA
Huh?
or a PCA or
Yeah,
additional?
exactly. So thank you very much. I don't know why I was blanking out today. When it's a PCA ride, that took like a year to solve. So I hope that glitch is one of the aspects that you're trying to address.
Yes, yes, it is.
Great, thank you. Okay, Charlie, I'm done.
Okay, on the particular data that you presented, first of all, as Jeff said, thank you very much. I know that it was a heavy lift and very much appreciated. And I think the information that was gleaned from it was worth the effort.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for that. And what I saw in the data was pretty much what I had hoped for, and that is, yeah, it was pretty rugged right at the start, and things are steadily improving sort of in all metrics that you looked at. And so that's a good sign. I'm looking forward to seeing it, the hard copy, so that I can look at it in more detail, and I don't have to try to remember all those numbers. But yeah, no, I think that was a good sign that you could see, a steady improvement in the data. So that's really good. So I'll save any questions on details of the data until after I've had a chance to study it some. But I do have a couple of other questions regarding the Q-Ride performance. And we're still getting a lot of comments about the pad that drivers use. And Doris can chime in here too. We were on a bus today, and the driver, punched into, I think it was the second map or something like that to get here. And it was going to take us up to 30th Street. And so they're still getting incorrect addresses. And that seems to be a fairly frequent issue. And I don't know, what the fix is, but I hope there's some work being done to do that, because that's a real serious problem that I've heard from a number of drivers, that they get the wrong address.
Okay, and that was today that you experienced that on your ride in today?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll follow up with the driver too, just to make sure that.
And that the pad, he also said that the lighting on the pad is quite dim. It's hard to see. Some of the print is quite small, and also they're getting a lot of information this particular driver said they don't need, and it's just clouding what they need to know. And so you might talk with some of the drivers to see, to get some clarification on that. But they really do need information about the site that they're going to. More of a verbal description. Sometimes if you pull into an apartment complex, you can't find the address on the buildings. It's hard to find. And so, is it, for example, near a particular parking spot or something like that for a pickup, or if the person's on the bus, they can help with the drop off, but especially the pickup. And sometimes it takes a lot of time sometimes to work through to find out exactly where the passenger is. But getting more of a verbal description of where they're going would be a great help. Then just a general question, are there some buses that the devices that you have to plug the iPads in for charging, the device that goes into the cigarette lighters? I've heard that it's either the 35 or 3600 buses that the current jack does not fit. And so if they're in the middle of a day, their pad runs out of electricity, the only solution is to go back into the shop and pick up a new pad.
So we do have like extras and stuff that we can send out with operators. We'll make sure to put out a notice that operators know when they go out, if whichever vehicle they have, if they need to take a charging device, that we'll make sure to provide them one.
That would really help, because, it takes them out of service for a while, and I'm sure that's costly.
Yeah, I agree.
So. Okay, right now, those are most of the questions I have. But, there's still issues with communications on the pad.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to Zoom this time for Matt questions.
Gene,
go ahead.
I very much appreciate the report, the statistics. I hope that we can continue to get such reports in the future. I would ask if it's possible that there's some way to put this in an accessible format, like in Word, so that it's easy to read. I do not know how to use Excel spreadsheets, and so that doesn't work for me. I just seen if it's a possibility. And this is not part of the report, but I'm just wondering about, again, the interaction between SAC-RT Go and UServe and the limited resources. Tuesday of this week, and this is not a complaint, Tuesday of this week, I had made a reservation, and I was to be at 700 H Street, the County Administration Building, before 4:30, because I was conducting a meeting. I waited to 30 minutes and called the dispatcher, and the dispatcher pulled off a miracle and got me a bus, and it was it was scheduled to be a bus, and he told me, the dispatcher, saying probably the driver that's been assigned to you probably wouldn't get to your place for at least another 20 minutes, which would have been basically an hour past. An hour would have gone by. He got somebody who fortunately I've ridden with him to the spot, and he knew where exactly to go. So I was late, but it was much easier. The thing is, we were following seeing the GPS to see how much it followed down there again, and the GPS was not telling them where to go at 708th Street, and that seems to be a chronic location with the GPS. And I was told that by the dispatcher and the driver that it was an extremely busy day. All the drivers were late, but what I wasn't able to get, and I was just wondering, was there just drivers, just the increase of ridership, a combination of and the number of drivers that were available that caused supposedly all the rides were late, at least in the afternoon. And why wasn't UServe being utilized when you had that crunch there? Go there. I'm cleared to use UServe to go to the county administration building, and I was like, probably would have made more sense to send UServe to get me to go there than trying to shift around and other riders and the buses. So I know you don't have the history, but I was just wondering if there was general things going on that are just unique to this Tuesday, and why can't UServe with less than 24 hours be brought in to try to help fill in the gap when you don't have maybe the backup of your own drivers? So if you can comment on anything I said, I'd appreciate it.
There's a couple factors that can play into it. There could be, so we send our trips to UServe by the day before. Now, as far as the day of, there's different variables, operators, absenteeism that we can't plan for. We could plan for like vacation and everything, but for if somebody called in not feeling well, that could have played a factor. It's been getting increasingly warmer outside, so there could be like vehicle breakdown. There could be a number of reasons why we were running behind that day. But we'd have to go back and really look at the data to see exactly what kind of transpired. So I could do that, but I would have to go back and kind of look through it.
Sure. And again, I stress this is not a complaint I was just relaying something. Everyone did everything possible to help me out, and no complaints about it. There was quality service.
Gene, could I follow up really quick on your question to Charity? Charity, is the issue still around where they mark WC for if someone says they have a white cane and they then think it's a wheelchair, so therefore they don't get a UServe? Has that issue been addressed at all?
We have not had that issue with Q-Rate that I'm aware of. So
okay, yeah, people have brought up that issue to me is what I think it was brought up at the last MAC meeting, and I've heard people. In fact, what people are starting to say is when they're asked if they have any mobility devices, they just say no mobility devices, and then they get UServe. But I think there is this issue, and you might just look at it anyway, about WC being white cane, but being thought of as wheelchair and making a difference. So I don't know, but if you could look at that for next meeting.
Okay, we'll take a look at that.
Sorry, Gene, go back. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. And I guess, Charity, I know you're all tired of it, but see about the GPS, that whole issue of not to seem to be able to find places in the center of downtown. And, you know, you serve people, I've heard a thing, and in, I don't know, within the last few months, they seem to have changed a route to get to 700 H Street from my place. Now they're going down some different streets. It's just like the GPS has been altered, and they get more lost than they used to. So anyway, that we still have a GPS problem, both SACRT Go and UServe. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else on Zoom?
Pam?
Mac members. Who?
Pam?
Oh, yeah. Hi, Pam. Sorry.
No problem. Actually, Jean touched on something that I was going to ask about. Very extensive data and a lot to collect and so forth. But to me, data is the key to finding answers. And I'm wondering if with what you showed us, especially with 1 month that was so different, if you have identified, first of all, general consistent problems that cause the delays, and I think you mentioned some just now, or specific month like that, and if so, what are the strategies to deal with those?
So some of those skewed numbers in the beginning too are just necessarily just operator availability and that type of delays. It was the whole transition with our entire staff into the new system. It's a new software, learning how to navigate through there, making errors by accident, by moving trips incorrectly or something that they accidentally clicked. But now that we've kind of couple months in, everything settled down. The dispatchers are well able to navigate through the system, as well as the operators. At first, it was as much as it is similar to Ecolane on the tablet, it's still different. So operators have now are comfortable with at least knowing where to look and navigate for things. So I think a lot of that
learning
was,
curve.
Yeah.
Okay. And is this level that's where you want to be, or are there ways to even improve beyond this with the learning curve?
Alberta said,
That's
that's my
my
job.
That's my job. I've got background 20 years, and thank you, Charles, because that data, like comparative analysis, now we have the data, we know what the problem is. What are we
Good.
going to do with it? I like the graphs and the charts. I'm not good at that, right? It takes a team. That's Blanca and Charity. They put all the time and effort into gathering that data, but now that it's there, I think what you're saying is that we have the data there, right? Obviously, at some point, we're going to get to the point where it's not Ecolane, it's not the transfer of data. Then what are we going to do? I strive for operational excellence, right? I'm going to evaluate the data and the staff. They are new to me. It's 5 months, and what we can do to continuously improve. We're going to improve, right? I'm committed to this service. I'm going to use it, do something with it, and you will see it get better. There's a lot of things.
My bent of mind, exactly. What do you do with it?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
And I do know what to do with it. I need to know what to do with it with the team here and how they operate, whether it's in dispatch and the operators, right? With the assistant of Charity, she's continuously working on the reports so that she can get that to me so I can manage the people.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's go. Anybody else in Zoom?
Not on Zoom, but in the Mac member.
Okay, in the room then.
Store. Is your microphone on?
Time. Sorry about that. One of the questions, all the changes that's happening, we know, but the reservations are awesome. You provide all the information, everything was wonderful. And all the people I've talked to, and then people who are driving as well, just to see everything. However, on the ride, whoever picks us up, they go and they don't get all the information. So we don't know, is that all that information is moved and it only stops because it's a certain page, or it doesn't have all the information? Trying to understand.
So the trip should have all the information needed. So it should have the pickup address, the location and everything. And
Yeah.
then in the driver's notes,
The
any
room-
additional comments and,
Yeah, the building number, it
Mhm.
has everything.
yeah.
But yet when they actually get the information, they don't have it. The actual drivers.
Do you have an example or do you a specific trip
That's
that I
so
can
many
identify
people.
an operator to kind of talk to?
Yeah, I've talked to everybody. I've talked to so many people. That's why I said they're wonderful. But then I think they provide the information,
Mhm.
but it's not, it doesn't have all the information as far as, I don't know if it's just moving it and it says that's all you have to do, but it's not. It doesn't have all the information for their side.
Okay. Well,
That's why.
we'll continue to
Just to
talk with the
see.
operators and staff and everything
would
to
break
see if
through
there's
what's going on.
anything additional that
Yeah,
you
'cause-
may not be aware of that they're not
Yeah,
seeing.
I don't know why.
I don't think I don't think it's consistent. My office is right next to reservations and I'm in dispatch constantly.
Okay.
And I think that it definitely, what I've heard is it's not consistent. In some passengers, the information pulls, sometimes it don't. Some things that we
Maybe.
can manually go in and change and fix, and we're committed to that. But there isn't any consistency, because I'll go to reservations, look at it, and then go downstairs and see if it's transferring, right?
Yeah,
It is.
just
and
to
then
make
it's not
sure.
Connecting to the tablet.
Yeah.
But then if you look at 100 passengers, and you look at that data analytically, right, it is, but then on 3, it's not. So we haven't figured that out, and it's continuous, right? With
Yeah.
the improvement, but we are communicating that to Q, right, and figuring out what the problem is. And sometimes they're not sure. And then they figure it out, and one more passenger has all of the information. But I'm committed to
So I
that.
don't-
I'm supposed to be here 8 hours a day, and I'm here 10 to 12.
Yeah,
I
I know.
figure it out.
Why, I know.
I want this for you as much as I want to lead that type of team, trust
Yeah.
me. And any information you can provide specifically to
Okay.
that specific
Provide-
day.
yeah.
I'm having the trainers screenshot. We have a feedback form. We're taking it from the complaints and we take it very seriously.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other MAC members in the room?
Helen?
Helen, go ahead.
Yeah, I was on a Zoom call with a bunch of people and with RT, and I had several days where people were supposed to pick me up at my home, which is off of Broadway and 35th Street. And the map told them to go to Fulton and Fair Oaks or Fulton and Easton. And I brought up the issue that the title of my apartment complex was Sherman Oaks Plaza. And we came up with the thought that maybe the AI or some kind of part in the program was taking part of the title of my apartment complex and like splitting it. So it would take it over to Fulton and Easton because there was a Sherman Plaza or something similar. And then there was an apartment complex that was Oaks something. And we think we've addressed that issue. But if it's happening to me on a consistent basis, it was like 3 weeks where it was 9 times within 3 weeks. What's happening to the people that are in our general public that don't have access to the people that I have access to? Who do they call? When do they call? How do they get a hold of the right person to make the conversation relevant? I would say 90% of the writers that have been writing Artigo have no clue. I think we need to have some kind of communication that would be written or, Braille or whatever kind of communications device or mechanism that they need as RTGO writers to explain to them what the process would be. Because I have many, many friends that are having a lot of issues. We found out that the reservationists put in all the information. It's all on the tablet. But because the newer drivers, I would say 6 months or less, were told you must follow the map, and the map was the issue, it caused many, many 45-minute to an hour delays. I'm just trying to put it out there that maybe a different way of looking at things. I was lucky because most of the drivers that pick me up know my schedule, and as soon as they look down at the address or the name, they knew where I was. So they didn't take that big long trip out to Fulton and Fair Oaks. They just turned around and came and got me. But I'm one of the few. What about everybody else? Just a question.
So Helen, I just want to clarify something. So what you had brought up, has that continued to happen just recently? Or was this from previously when we had talked?
From before we talked, but my issue is I'm connected. I have everybody's phone numbers and I know who to call about what. But the general population that rides RTGO has no clue.
Okay.
And I think it would be good if we could like put a letter of some kind of communications in with, say, the registration form to let them know if this happens, then you need to. Just a suggestion.
When you're reaching out, you are the voice, you are the advocate, you are speaking for everybody. When we're talking to you, we're listening for everybody and we're implementing it. So when any of you call in and you're making a complaint and you have our attention, right? I'm looking at it in its entirety, in the entire system. You're right. We were having some ideas. The reservations, we're putting the information in, right? So we're not literally just looking at your specific trip. Again, it's those inconsistencies, right? I, like you, I prefer, we went in when I first got there, and we manually put everything in so that when you go into a plaza, right, and it's 3,700, right, I want to know that I'm looking for you at the bank, right? Because you have an operator entering into that plaza, they don't know where to go, there's multiple businesses in there, right? It's a distraction to the operator, number one. Number two, it decreases our on-time performance because we can't find you, no shows, right? What we were finding, so when we first got there, that was a complaint that I was hearing, right? We need to tell the operator where to look from. It's 3,700, we need to go to the B of A. So we went in manually and I had all the reservations put in, like you said, in the front of the address because that's where the tablet was connecting. 3,700, you're looking, the address, you're looking for B of A. Well, then it appeared that that B of A in front of, while we were trying to resolve one problem, we may have caused another one because then it wasn't connecting. All right, let's back it all out. Extremely labor intensive, right? Let's manage it with Q-Ride. I think that's gotten better and it's a continuous effort. I want to know, I just have to reiterate that when one of you are speaking, I'm listening for all of you.
Yeah, but I think the whole population that uses RTGO needs to have some kind of letter or, Braille or whatever format they need to let them know. If you were on the bus and your bus is going way out the wrong way and there's no other pickups, okay, there's no, well, we're detouring this way because the train went up crazy.
Helen.
Or something like that.
Sorry to interrupt. This is Jamie Pulcanavery. Hey, Director of Customer Satisfaction. To your point, I totally get your point, and I'm glad to hear, and I am aware that the SacRTGO team has working to address when those things pop up. We are aware of it. I know you brought it up last meeting. But as far as your request or wants, where would a customer go? How would they report this? Customers, as soon as something happens or something doesn't happen, they are calling and they're talking to a reservationist. The reservations are really good about trying to handle that situation right then and there, but they will also refer that person to share that feedback with customer advocacy. But what I will do is I'll put in a request for our marketing team to send a reminder to all of our customers that are currently set up in our email, right, our email sign up to do that. We can also put some information on our SACRT website, just reminding folks where to go. Every writer, once they are approved, they do receive the writer's guide. And within the writer's guide, it does give them a way that they can submit their feedback or call and speak with someone. We have a number of ways to do that, but I'd be happy to bring it up and share it with SACRT Go, to your point, because I think it's a valid point.
Thank you very much.
And this Priscilla, and I just wanted to echo some of what Jamie was saying, but also there are a lot of folks that we see in person or by phone, but certainly in person for the eligibility determination process. Everyone gets the information. It might not be during that interview, but we speak to it in the interview, and we send the writer's guide. One of the things that happens, Helen, is that people don't read the information. So you can, and this has been going on for years. People don't always read what they get. They get maybe a little snippet of it, and then they just don't spend the time. So we try our best to get the information out there, and then, it's up to them to actually look through that information that's going to be very helpful for them. So I just wanted to mention that as well. Thanks.
Okay, any other members in the room?
Melissa,
Okay, go ahead, Melissa.
really quick, I'm really new, so I apologize. I need to clarify some wording. The appointment times, those are the ones when I say I need to be here by a certain time. What time do you need to pick me up, or are those the promised ones?
So appointment times is when you call in reservations and you say, I need to be at a specific location by 9 a.m.
That's what I thought. Okay. Then one other thing, it's not about your stats. Thank you for the stats, by the way. They were very labor intensive and they're useful. But anyway, the thing I wanted to bring up is when I've been using Artigo, I've been getting this automated recording within 15 minutes of the time that my ride is supposed to show up and be ready and all this stuff. The number shows up on my screen coming from Massachusetts, and it shows up as scam likely. A lot of people, including me, if I didn't know what it was, I probably wouldn't pick it up. You might want to change it so it says your name, or at least it says Sacramento, if you can possibly do that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that has been brought up before, so we'll continue to see what we can do about getting that to reflect.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Anyone
Jeff?
else in the room, MAC members?
Yeah, Jeff, I have another couple of things.
Okay.
All right. First of all, going back to what Pam said, that was exactly why I asked for the statistics that you did. And so you can now query things that are on the outer ranges as to where things are bad and say, are there any common threads there that will tell us what's going on, why it's so late? And the narrower the data gets, then of course that's the better thing. But Pam was absolutely right. That's why I wanted the data, and I think that'll give you some stuff to probe and ask. Are there commonalities? Is there a certain time of day? Are certain days of the week or certain weeks out of the month that we have these issues, and so on? And also, I don't know what your driver status is now, how many drivers you have. Are you short? Are you right on schedule or whatever? But, those are other things to look at. And, then you can add in, well, what days do our drivers tend to either call in sick or take holidays? And does that correspond with excessively late arrival times and so on? So that gives you a smaller set of data to probe for commonalities. So that was part of it. Let's see, there was one other thing. Yeah, the other issue I wanted to point out is that drivers are still having to request changes in either pickup or drop-offs regarding passengers. And so we heard last month from a lady who was picked up on time, but then they had to go pick up 2 other passengers that took quite a bit of time. And then on the way back, they drove right past the lady's house. And so we heard that report last month. And what happened to me a couple of days ago was that I was on a bus with a share ride, which is a good thing. But in that situation, the driver had to literally drive past the driveway to my place in order to drop off those other 2 people and then come back and drop me off. Well, the driver called dispatch and they didn't answer in time. And so he made an executive decision and he dropped me off before he dropped the other folks off. And so in part, I'm here to plead forgiveness on his part for doing that. But that's still an issue. And frequently I hear drivers calling into dispatch asking to rearrange either pickups or drop-offs because it just makes sense to do it their way. And so I don't know, what the parameters in the Q-Ride are, but it leads me to conclude that sometimes it's more artificial than intelligence. And so anyway.
So we looked at the trip the last time we were here, and we have put in a few things with the dispatchers to be able to better monitor the trips daily, especially shared rides, to make sure that we're efficient. We're making sure we're making good shared rides, and then that we're not driving past one house to the other. So
yeah,
we
and
understand.
the drivers are also pretty good about calling dispatch to say something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to speak to that because I agree, right? We both come from a manual operation, right? So I manually took down and redid the routes every year, right? And sometimes that is better, right? But this is more efficient, and we do want to make sense when they're calling in to make changes, right? I'm listening, I'm analyzing it to make sure that it does make sense, because sometimes it always doesn't.
Right.
I don't want to be very careful. I'm very safety conscious. I want to make sure that not just that one passenger where they passed it up, where it makes sense to all of you on the bus.
Oh, it needs to make sense to everybody on the bus. But yeah.
To everybody on the bus, and safety, and me and the business in general, right? But I am watching it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Charles, if I may, Blanca, VP of Operations, I worked really closely with Charity looking at this information. And I just want to point out a few things. Thank you for asking for this information because it was very telling. As we're putting it together, we're like, oh, this is what he was saying. And, you see what, and we actually went back and we're now working with Q-Ride to make sure that calculations are being done correctly.
I'm still in my meeting. I'm
I'm
still on the Mac meeting.
You're unmuted, Jeff.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was muted. Sorry about that.
So I know you had asked weekly, and even though we didn't, the whole month opened up a ton of, so we are looking at that and we will continue to look at that. So I do want to say thank you in regards to that. And we want to, a couple things. We are we're dealing with the Q-Ride. I do want you guys to know that we're working on operational side of it, where we can now work on the quality of the service, which means working with our internal dispatchers, reservationists, and then operators, and see what we can do. On that share ride, back to the data, another thing that we're working with Q-Ride is to make sure that they're giving us information to be able to look and identify the share rides, when share rides are taking place, and how long passengers are being on the bus.
Right.
So we're going to look at that. We're going to start monitoring those things now, because now everything's kind of calming down, where it's allowing us to really take a really good dive into the what's actually happening and more into detail. So we're going to look at that. And I know we went back and looked at a trip the last time, and we saw why Q-Ride scheduled it the way it did. But then we were like, well, it was just as the driver was going to drive through there to get to the next location. So it said, pick her up and then go get this person. But then ultimately they were going to drive right back through that location
Exactly.
to get to the other part. And I was like, well, it's frustrating because you're like, if I was that person, I'm like, well, you could have just picked me up on the way back. And that way I wouldn't have been I would have rather waited at home. And so we see it and we're working and we're hearing and we have seen it. And, we're trying to ensure we're giving them the tools now that things are calming down, where the dispatchers are going to be able to do more of that monitoring and doing those, because it's no matter how good the software can say it is, it will always need that person to do those, right? And so we know that, and that's where Alberta says, we're working to making sure that they have those skills now to make sure that they're watching for those things and making those changes as in real time, rather than just letting the software itself to do. Yeah.
Well, excellent. Thanks for that additional.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself. I had to come up here and talk to you guys. I'll give it back to the.
Say that deviation.
All right.
Talking about 1.8 miles in passing up and go around. We're working on it.
Okay. And the other thing too, I don't know how the data is that you get from QRide, but if it's in a form that you can easily query, then that would help you out a lot rather than having to do.
It wasn't.
That's what I was afraid of.
But we're working with them, and that's basically we're drafting this whole thing. Like, look, this is what we need, so we can just pull it up and just do a couple clicks, and it pulls it up for us. So we're working with them on that as well.
Yeah, if you can work with QRide on that, so that you can send out a general query, then that will help you out immensely. And I still remember the look on everybody's face when I requested that information last night. I thought, uh-oh.
It was a fun exercise. It was really, it was a learning experience. It was good. I learned a lot of formulas I never thought I knew, and I had to find, so thank you.
You can get that into Excel. It does the calculation.
Gene's been asking
Quick
for the floor
question.
for a few minutes here, so
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. Somebody else.
I've previously shared during the executive committee meeting, I used cell phone. I am not using the app. And until about a month ago, I would get a message about 15 minutes before the arrival of the vehicle, whether it was Sacramento Go or whether it was UServe, give me a 15-minute warning. And then I'd get the message that the driver has arrived, the other message. I am not getting any of those messages at all. Like this Tuesday, I was outside waiting the whole time. So it wasn't an issue when the vehicle stopped, but the message is to alert you. And the driver told me, the one I had going back, I believe it was, hearing about other people using their telephone that maybe are not like myself, not on the app, not getting those messages. So that problem still exists. Thank you, and I don't expect an answer, but thank you.
Yeah, I think maybe one of you should call Gene on that specifically and discuss what he's got and why that isn't happening. I would think that would be a good way to handle it, Gene.
Yeah.
Did I hear Melissa?
Just one more quick question I should have asked before and I forgot. On the appointment stats, when you're considering yourself late, when you get the person there late or when you arrive at their house late?
For the appointment set, it's based off of getting you to your appointment late.
Oh, okay, that's what I wanted to see. Wasn't sure.
Okay, so let's go to members of the public. Let's start in Zoom, I guess. Okay, none. And in the room then? Wow, Jeff, you don't have a question at all today?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right, good. I
Okay.
would,
Last Friday, I had the paratransit ride pick me up. And what initial issue is that not all the paratransit drivers knew that we were picking people up from the Cal Expo main entrance. 5 paratransit vehicles. 2 were apparently directed over to where it used to be the racetrack entrance. Because right now for Cal Expo, there's 3 major pickup points there. So anyway, had that experience and had some issues and conflicts. So I've already spoken to Bianca about Dan was the driver or the operator that was getting off. And so was trying to get to confirm when my ride was going to be showing up, and confirming once I heard this, that it was indeed going to be picking up at the main entrance. As far as that goes, you had one of your operators there that actually was smart enough to write down the physical people that were there, so they had the names to connect them with dispatch and the riders through there. I don't remember his name, but he did a good job in that effort. I'm holding up
from Regina Brick.
I'm holding up a tablet right now because it seems like this is the tool that you've got the operators now using.
Okay.
And
all right. Thanks.
It's a clever tool. And I hope that you can use the GPS features of it for the map to get you some of your isolation of your locations that people are dropping off and being picked up from. Because what I'm pointing this out right now is for this rider that was with me in a wheelchair, a mechanical wheelchair. When it came close to this location, he directed him to the back entrance because that's where he was located at, and that's where we dropped him off at. Then he had to turn around and he says, this is too narrow. And so he went out the front entrance to get out of there. But hopefully there is a way of it marking where the GPS of where it was at, because it was almost a quarter of a mile from the difference of where he was the front entrance and where he came in the back entrance with a gate code. And that's something else that if he's got tablets, whether that's something information that's can be provided on your tablet setup if you're getting your operators these type of tools to use. It's just a quick setup and comment. The other note I will offer as a comment through there today is that took me just 4 minutes to make up the ride setup for tomorrow night for them to pick up. Your reservationist was quite good and accommodated since I have not done these things for a while. So that's my extra comment on there. Lastly,
all right, thank you.
Lastly, I will offer to you is that apparently a number of people are not satisfied with either the low floor right rail.
That is not related to the SAC-RT Go item.
Or using the
That
app.
is not related to
So
the
they are
SAC-RT.
using the SAC-RT Go.
Okay, that is not related to the SAC-RT Go item. So,
Okay, so I'll take that back. Thanks, Jeff.
okay, so the answer is that you're going to take that back, the various comments that he had.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Regina has her hand raised.
Regina, go ahead.
Put hands up.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I had my hand up and I don't think you guys saw it. I would like to echo some of the concerns, especially about the GPS. And it's not only for the people on buses that it's causing some issues. Certain addresses seem to be extremely hard for them to find as well, but especially with UServe. In fact, many drivers tell me they need to use Google Maps and whatever maps they have on UServe, which requires 2 devices. I think that there are some serious issues with GPS, and for people that are blind or low vision, this is particularly challenging because we can tell people where to go, but we don't know if they're necessarily doing it, and we can't tell them maybe some key landmarks that might help them a bit more, that might be more visual. I can give them an address and cross streets and everything, but sometimes I don't know what color the door is, or I don't know what color the house is, or I don't know if there's a sign in a certain spot. So these are all big concerns for us. The other thing is the WC is a problem for White Cane. It does come up wheelchair, and I don't want to go into things, but I did sort of an experiment with a call taker, and I know, and that call taker knows that is what's happening. So I'd like to probably talk to you about that one-on-one.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Anyone else, members of the public?
Next on Zoom, we have Rick.
Okay, Rick.
Thank you. Good thing I said something in the Q&A box. So I also would have to echo what everybody else has said. But in addition, I would like to point out that every time I get a user, I'm always picked up, and they know that I have a cane. They have to remember that the driver has to come to the door. They can't just assume that a person can find them or is in a wheelchair. They need to go up to the door and see the person before they just assume that they can't pick that person up or that person's a no-show. I've had that happen to me over 3 months ago, particularly in the month of April. Furthermore, I would like to point out that when it comes to scheduling a route for drivers, I don't think artificial intelligence is the answer. It may be the answer with autonomous vehicles, but not when you're scheduling a route for a driver. The last thing I will say is that twice this week, I was picked up by a paratransit bus and on the same day, and that they were within the window picking me up from home, but on the way back, that they were way outside the window, like 10 minutes outside the window. If you're still outside the window, as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of the world as far as I'm concerned. If it's not I mean, I don't care the reason why. It just can't. And this is with the bus, not with user. It just can't happen. It seems to be a habitual and a chronic, excessive, habitual thing. And some drivers will deviate from the route if they catch wind that what they were given did not make sense in reality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Anyone else on Zoom or in the room, members of the public?
Stephanie.
Stephanie, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I will be brief. I know we're running up against the clock here. I am, again, Stephanie W. Jones, for those of you at RT Go. Yeah, I point that out because there are other Stephanies and other Stephanie Joneses. I'm also blind and a member of the public who experienced the instance of being taken to an address that wasn't my home. Unfortunately for me, I can follow with my own GPS and was able to speak to the driver before he went too far beyond the exit. And only state that because I know you guys are working on this. I only state that to say, yes, it is real. It is happening to the public. And one, if not more of the public is here to represent. This has been my experience. I didn't intend to start with a negative. I intended to start with a positive to say, thank you, RTGo, for what you're doing. I don't envy you. Your job is tough. I get it. Last thing I guess I would say is more communication to us is better than less. And however you can do it, whether it's the messages as we call in to schedule reservations, or however you do it, but just giving us the acknowledgement that you hear us is helpful and that things are changing. And I know I don't expect you to say the same thing 6 straight weeks, but just something to say, we hear you and we're with you and we're working with you because we're trying to be patient. Thank you so much for all you do. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Anyone else? Any other hands, Austin, or in the room?
No.
Okay, so.
I have my hand up. Just 1 second.
Oh, sure.
A couple of times I've heard members on Zoom and in the room, the auditorium, about WC as it being considered white cane. And we have white cane as one of the mobility devices in the database. There's also WC, but white cane is spelled out, and if there's a rider that has a white cane, that's what would be indicated is white cane spelled out. Does that clarify?
Well, it does, Priscilla, and I'm glad of
Okay.
that. But for some reason, and I can't put my finger on it, for some reason, since we started using QRide, they weren't getting U-serves for a while, and that could have been for many reasons. But then people started saying, well, I don't have any mobility devices, and all of a sudden they were back on U-serve. And there were some people that did say white cane and they weren't getting them. So there was a concern, and it may or may not be valid, but a lot of people have expressed this. So
Okay.
I can't really out of hand say, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and it's always been that way, but I do think it needs at least a little bit of a look into to see why this keeps happening.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you for that clarification too. Okay, so in the last couple of minutes, we used to do this every time and we haven't had a chance. Does anybody, MAC members now, have anything that they would like on next month's agenda? Or announcements? Anything from MAC members on either of these items? In the room or in Zoom?
Gene,
Gene, go ahead.
I think I'd like to see if somebody from facilities can come and talk about the physical things that are planning to be done to the light rail station areas, like we did hear from earlier about the signage being brought down, but like the tactile signs that facilities could answer the question, when will that appear? So I think getting an update about the physical changes that are not part of the low floor vehicles themselves.
And presumably from the facilities folks, because we don't want to have,
Right.
these guys have to talk about something that they don't have any actual control over.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Gene. Anyone else?
Yes, this is Helen O'Connell.
Uh-huh.
It's been brought to my attention that the Smart Ride buses may or may not be brought over to RTGO. And are they going to go to RTGO? Are they going to be reallocated? Are they going to be put out for bid? Or are they going to be taken apart for parts? Just a question on how we're going to take care of the Smart Ride buses, because it is my impression that they are extremely similar to the RTGO buses, and we really could use more buses. So just a question. Thank you.
Okay, maybe we can get an answer from Charity, whoever, next meeting, whoever's appropriate for that. All right. Anyone else with anything for next meeting? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Helen O'Connell.
All right, we got a motion. Gene, we got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, and thanks to Charlie for starting the meeting for me.